Joining us now, our old friend, Marco Rubio from the great state of Florida, joins us now. Senator, great to have you with us.
I'm glad to be with you. I'm glad you're back on the air, too, after a couple of weeks there.
Thank you, sir. Let's talk about, first of all, you've been on a lot of shows lately, conservative radio shows, and you felt the need to go on these shows because of the great skepticism in 2007 with the plan that John McCain and George Bush, Chamber of Commerce, and Big Labor was pushing back then, which was a comprehensive reform package. This is not all that much different from what was offered in 2007, and many people think it's actually offers more to those who broke our laws. Why, if we didn't support it in 2007, should we support it in 2013?
Well, let me first say I'm not sure that's an accurate assessment. 2007 was an actual bill. I mean, it was a bill that was filed that had details, and people could analyze that. The only thing that's been announced is a set of principles, the vast majority of which I think are impossible to argue against. I think the concern people have is that when those principles are turned into a bill, they won't actually do what the principles say. And I share that concern. This is, I've been in the Senate for 2 years, and so this is the first time I'm going to be involved in drafting a piece of legislation of this importance. And I want to make sure that when it is drafted and those details do come out, they reflect what we say in the principles. But I don't think they're similar, at least at this stage for sure, because there was a bill in 2007. Right now what there are principles, and people hear echoes of '07 and some of the things. But I think there's some really significant differences just in the principles that we've outlined.
Well, one of the principles is the ensuring that the border is secure, and you all have proposed a commission to ensure that the border is secure. Now, is there any doubt that the border is porous? We had a 9% jump in illegal crossings just in 2012. So why do we need a commission to tell us that this border is porous?
Well, a couple things. First of all, the border is actually 9 separate sectors, each of which is a little different than the other. I know you know the border well. There are some areas of the border that are much more complicated than others. There are some areas where they've made progress and other areas where they've regressed. And so they need to be dealt with in that way. The problem is that in the past, every time we've talked about the border, we've always talked about the border from the perspective of a bureaucrat or a senator or a congressman in Washington. No one ever asks the people that are down there what's going on with the border, whether it's local law enforcement or the governors or the attorney generals of the states. And so we think it's important to create a forum where the locally impacted communities have a way to influence the policy. The second is I think we can set some real standards that measure control of the border. Other countries, for example, Israel has controlled the border.
They have a fence. Yeah, I've
right.
toured the fence, sure. and what we're hearing from the administration is we're going to have we're going to continue to see enhancements along the border. Charles Krauthammer said yesterday, if you're not talking about a fence, which is now 1/3 completed, if you're not talking about a fence and you're talking high tech, then you can know these people are not, once again, serious about enforcing the border. And with all due respect to all of my friends on Capitol Hill, good people, I know, trying to do good things, but you all have no credibility on enforcing the border. You go down to San Antonio, Fort Worth, you go down to the El Paso area, and I've interviewed businesses and local law enforcement. These people are overrun.
Well, first of all, that's why I think the existence of a commission or some other forum is important, so people like that can be heard. And if, in fact, Washington is saying that something is secure, but the people on the ground are saying that it's not, there's a forum for those concerns to be heard. The second point is, whatever the administration says might be very interesting, but they're not the lawmaker. I know that we've sometimes in the last few years here, we've lost focus on that in this country, and even the press and the way it covers the process has come to believe that somehow the president's job is to create laws. That's not the way the republic works. Lawmakers is the legislative branch, the House and the Senate. The president's job is to either sign that law, veto it, or let it go into law without doing anything about it. And so what we're focused on is creating a real criteria by which you can measure not just whether the border is secure. The border is important, by the way, not just as an immigration issue. It's even more important as a national security issue. It's not just the border. Everybody focuses on the border. You have to have workplace enforcement mechanisms as well. And you have to track the visas. We can do that. That is not technologically impossible. We can do that
today, but Senator, just let me get this straight. So illegal immigrants, undocumented workers, whatever the fashionable way of referring to people who break our laws is today, they get a path to citizenship, and we get a commission. Is that right?
That's not an accurate assessment.
Okay, so what is the accurate assessment? Because I'm looking at emails coming in now. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's outline the plan and how it would work. First of all, we have 11 million human beings in this country who are going to be here for the rest of their lives with or without documents. I don't like that. I didn't create that problem. The decisions that led to that happened when I was in ninth grade.
Right, government
Well,
did.
I was in ninth grade when they made the decision to do what they did in '86. I'm here now, and my job is to try to figure out a way that we can deal with it that's responsible, that doesn't reward it, doesn't encourage it in the future, and isn't unfair to people who are doing it the right way. And so what happens is, if someone is undocumented, they will be encouraged to come forward. If they don't, then they'll be really undocumented in the sense that...
Then they'll be deported?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Not only with that, but they'll be deported if otherwise the plan doesn't work, and they'll be deported if they committed a serious crime. So when people come forward, if you are undocumented, you will have two choices. Choice number one is actually current law, and that is you return to the country that you were born in, you wait 10 years, and then you apply for a green card, because that's the current law now. Choice number two is if you don't want to return to your country, well, then you will have to pay a fine, you will have to pay all the taxes that you owe us for those years, and all you will get in exchange for that is a work permit. And you will have to stay in that work permit. That's all you will be able to have. You do not, under a work permit, you do not qualify for any federal assistance.
No Obamacare.
No, in fact, the president yesterday conceded that in his speech. Not even Obamacare. And that's what you will have. And after a period of time has elapsed with that work permit, and after it is certified that the security has happened, meaning the border, the control of the border, the workplace enforcement, the visa tracking system, then and only then will the only thing they will get is the chance to apply for a green card, just like they would have had they done it right the first time, or had they gone back to their country of birth and waited the 10 years. That's all they're going to get is a chance to apply for a green card. And they still have to get in line behind everybody who applied before them, and they still have to qualify for the program they're applying for.
Well, McCain and the president both say, I believe, Senator, that the path to citizenship, which means voting, must be part of this. Does that make you comfortable?
Well, first of all, I know they keep using that terminology, and I don't want to get into a debate with people that are not on the program because it isn't fair to them, but let me say this. There is no such thing as a path to citizenship. There is such a thing as a path to a green card. And then you don't get citizenship. You can't leapfrog that stage. You have to have a green card. And then when you have a green card, you have to wait 5 years before you can even apply for citizenship. And what we're saying is, I don't think it's good for this country that 11 million people are stuck in a work permit forever with no hope of ever, investing in our future, because it's been a disaster for Europe. But I'm saying that the only way out of that status is by applying for a green card through the same process everybody else needs to use, not a special one. And that is a key distinction between what they did in 2007 and what I'm proposing we do now. Now, look, the people I've been working with, I know that traditionally they're not people we work with on some issues, but so far they have committed to these principles. We have to draft this legislation now,
right.
And if, in fact, what's drafted in legislation does not reflect what I just said to you, then obviously I won't be supportive of it. But at this stage, I have no reason to believe that that won't be the case. And in fact, what's most interesting is that we've got some pretty prominent supporters of the president who have signed on to a position on immigration that is significantly more conservative than what the president outlined yesterday.
Okay, so just again, so I'm clear here. If there is a path to citizenship in the final legislation that the president is insisting upon, that Chuck Schumer and Dick Durbin is insisting upon, and they said it has to be in one fell swoop, that this has to be comprehensive, it can't be piecemeal. Jeb Bush attacked you. I'm sure you saw the piece about Jeb Bush saying that you all are doing it piecemeal and it's basically short-sighted. He said piecemeal, short-sighted, and unfair. That you will that was in the Wall Street Journal, an op-ed. So you say that if it's a path to citizenship in the bill that is guaranteed, that you won't support it?
Yeah, first of all, I don't think anyone's proposing that. I don't know anyone who's proposed that in our group. What our group has said is that there's a path to a green card, but that requires you to get a work permit first, wait a significant period of time, and then, and only then, after that time has elapsed and after the security measures are in place, then what you will get is the opportunity to apply for a green card. Not the guarantee of a green card, but the opportunity to apply for one. And the truth is, eventually, most of these people will qualify for the green card because in the process.
Right, the overwhelming.
Take some time. It's not going to be quick and easy,
right.
but it'll happen eventually. Sure.
Jeff Sessions was on the show about 20 minutes ago, and I know you guys are friends, and he said that his obligation in looking at this legislation is not to make the lives of the illegal immigrants in the United States better. His obligation is first and foremost this.
I feel that my primary obligation, my moral duty, is to my American citizen constituents who I represent. I do not believe that we're going to have benefits for working Americans by legalizing 11 million people without, and if the illegal flow is not going to be reduced.
So he believes the obligation is to the American people, the middle class of this country that have already seen their wages stagnate, diminished buying power, and so forth. How is this bill good for the average, hardworking American family and legal immigrant family in the United States?
Because having a broken legal immigration system isn't good for anybody, including the people who are living here right now.
So it's going to increase their wages? Is it going to make their wages
Well, I don't know if that's the right approach because, for example, I don't know if that's the right argument because these folks are here already now and they're working right now, and they're just not going through the same system as the rest of us. So I would actually argue to you that what we have now is even more unfair. You have people working right now in this country using someone else's identity, or you have people working now that are being paid in cash because they're undocumented, so they're not paying FICA, they're not paying unemployment benefit into the unemployment funds of the states, they're not paying into Medicare or Social Security. But they are showing up they will get sick, so they'll show up at the hospitals that we all pay for through our local property taxes or what have you. So the current system we have now is not good for anybody. The other problem that we have now is we have people out there trying to hire, and they have no way of knowing or being able to verify whether the person they've hired is legally here. So someone will show you a copy of a Social Security card. You have no reason to believe it's not really them, and then it turns out that it's not really them, and you violated the law. So the truth of the matter is that that's the system in place right now. And I agree, part of this has to be modernizing the legal immigration system so that none of this ever happens again.
And this won't
but
be
I'm not sure how any of us benefits from the fact that there's 11 million people here that are undocumented.
Believe me, I think it's been a disaster for our economy. I think the idea that because we have people, cleaning our hotel rooms and doing our lawns and putting roofs on our houses are good people, they're hardworking people. But all you have to do is talk to all the people who used to have businesses who do that, who don't hire illegal labor. So I agree with you on that completely.
Yeah, but there's no way for them to verify people these days. It's very difficult. I mean, and we certainly don't require it. And if their competitors aren't doing it, and therefore are able to pay people less, that puts them at an even bigger disadvantage.
Why does big business and big labor want this so bad? If it's not going to be a downward pressure on wages.
Well, big labor doesn't want a guest worker program for future labor. They do not. They're not supportive of that, and that is why, while it's in our principles, the president did not talk about it because the head of the AFL-CIO was sitting in the front row of his speech yesterday. The reason why business wants it is because they want to be able to have a reliable way of hiring people. The issues that I've outlined to you. Let me give you a perfect example. The high-tech industry, okay? They say they are creating 120,000 computer engineering jobs a year that can be done in the United States, but our universities are only graduating 40,000 people a year with those skills. Now, that's an indictment of our university systems and of our education. We need to figure out a way to graduate 120,000 Americans a year in that field, but in the short term, what is happening is because we don't have a immigration system that can fill that need, these jobs are being created and they're being sent to another country, and that's not good for America either. Here's another problem that we have. We are inviting some of the brightest people in the world to go to our schools. We're spending money to teach them, and then we're sending them to other countries.
No, I agree. We totally agree on H-1B visas are just a joke. I mean, how we deal with that today. I just think our immigration should be based on our needs as a country. What do we need? And in the future, regardless of what happens here, Senator Rubio, I know you agree that if this bill, as it turns out, in its specifics, if it's agreed upon, passed, signed by the president, if in 5 years we've seen a bigger influx of people coming here illegally to either take advantage of the system or be part of Obama, whatever it is, then this bill will have been a failure. I hope that does not happen because we've seen what happened before.
I won't support anything that will lead to that. Well, I just won't. I mean, I won't be. If that's what this bill turns into, it won't have my name on it.
Well, that means a lot, I know, to our listeners, and I think that's a great concern here. I mean, my concern is just the American people. I mean, they're struggling out there. And they're worried that their wages are going to continue to see this downward pressure put on them. And I think people are compassionate. Like, we want to help everybody, but I mean, we have to help ourselves first. We're not going to be good to anybody.
I agree. What we have now is not good, and we've got to figure out a way to fix it. Listen, if someone has a better way of dealing with it, I'm open to that, But this is the process that's happening. I want to influence it in a way so that it leads to the conclusion that you've outlined, and that is ensuring that we are never here again. I don't ever want this country to have to face or deal with this issue ever again.
Now, Marco Rubio, we really appreciate your joining us. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks for giving me the chance.